sixth graders. We are going to work on your Real Fantasy Reel page today. We're going to plan your writing. And so you have this paper in front of you, and you've read all these books, and you've seen lots of great examples of Real Fantasy Reel, and now it's time to write your own plan. So this is your planning page. This is not your actual writing page. So I have a prompt for you at the top of the page for what your writing is going to be about. You can choose to use this or you don't have to use this, but this is if you're kind of stuck for an idea, you might want to use this. So it says you walk by a door that's always locked. This time the door is unlocked. Think about what might happen if you walked through the unlocked door. Now write a story to tell what happens after you walk through a door that was always locked. So you can use this as your idea for where you're going to go with your writing. You don't have to. If you have another idea in your mind for what you want to do, you can do that as long as it's going to make sense. The next thing you need to do is you need to pick a story thread. We've seen Christmas as a story thread. We have seen being wild. We saw the food in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. There's so many story threads. This can be whatever you want. If you like basketball, pick basketball. If you like horses, write about horses. Anything works for a story thread. There's so many ideas. There is one thing you cannot write as a story thread, though, and you cannot do video games or trading card games. It just doesn't work well. It's confusing to read. It's confusing to write. So I'm very sorry. You cannot do video games or trading card games. Other than that, pretty much anything fits. Board games are a great idea. Candyland is fun. Think about Jumanji. Jumanji was based on a board game. So right now you're going to pause the video and you're going to talk with your writing partner and that you are sitting next to and come up with what do you each want to do as a story thread. So let's pause the video now. Okay, so you picked your story thread. Now you're ready to start making your plan. You have your story thread. Let's say you picked basketball as your story thread. The next thing you need to decide is where are you in the reel? Where are you going in the fantasy? And then where are you coming back to in the reel? So if you're doing basketball, maybe you're at basketball practice with your friends and you go through a door that's unlocked and all of a sudden you're in an NBA game. And then you come back to basketball practice at the end. If you are doing a board game of some kind, you're playing Candyland, then you go into the game of Candyland, and then you come back to playing Candyland. The options are endless here. You are playing with your dog in your backyard, then you go through a door, and then you're in a world where dogs can talk. I mean, there's so many things. So the thing you need to do now is you're doing this column right here. So you need to think about in the lead, in the real part of your writing, who are the characters, what is the setting, and what are they doing? You need to write that in on this box. This is not sentences. This is notes. This is just a planning page. Then I want you to think, what is the event that causes fantasy? Maybe it's going through a door. You can totally do that. But maybe you have another idea that's causing you to go into your fantasy here. Then when you go into fantasy, who are the characters there? Did anybody come with you from real? Like if you were with your friends at basketball practice, did any of their friends come with you into fantasy? Put them in here, but then maybe you meet some other people. Space Jam is totally a real fantasy reel, and people come with them, but then there's new characters that are introduced when they go into the fantasy. So who are the fantasy characters? What's the setting? And then what is the problem? Probably one of your problems is you need to go back home, right? That's the problem in most real fantasy reels is how do I get back to my real world? But you probably have another problem. Like think about in Space Jam. They wanted to get back to real, but they had all these problems that were happening within the game in the fantasy world. Then in this column, you're going to write what causes you to return to real. Again, these are not big, long sentences. These are notes. You should write a good amount so you have a good plan, but you don't need to write sentences. And then I want you to think in the ending, who are the characters here? What is the setting? What are you doing in the ending? And are you going to have a kicker? Did something come back with you from the fantasy back to your real life, like in Jumanji, in the Polar Express, how he pulls the bell out of his pocket? Do you have that? Do you have the red slippers from Wizard of Oz? So what's your kicker? You don't have to have a kicker, but you can. So right now you have time to work on this planning page. You're filling it in well for each column. When it's done, take a nice clear picture and turn it into Canvas. If you use a Chromebook, maybe it would be good for you to have an iPad friend take a picture and share it with you so you can turn in a picture that I can see really well when I'm trying to grade this. So get to work on your planning page. You're welcome to talk with your partner that's sitting next to you, but everybody does need to be working right now.